kind of a recap of our remarks on gender and sexuality. Moving from last class. What did we do get to in our last class?
I just have a question because I'm not entirely sure this is legal to be teaching. Because according to our president, there's only 2 genders, and he said that he would be freezing agencies' funding programs that promote gender ideology.
On day 1 of my administration, I signed an executive order to slash federal funding for any school that pushes transgender insanity on our youth.
You know what's interesting about that is counterintuitively, and some people might think that I'm wrong, this might be a controversial take. I actually think that Trump is helping trans people and gay people by saying that we should stop pushing this stuff in schools. Because I don't think that most people care that you want to be gay or who you want to sleep with, whatever it may be. I don't think people care if you want to identify as a bird. It's probably not a good idea to go to the top of a building and try to fly, but I don't think most people care what you want to identify as or who you want to sleep with. But I think when you push it into schools, I think when you try to force girls to allow boys into or men into their locker rooms, even though a lot of women might not openly say because they want to go with the hive mind, even though they may not say that it makes them uncomfortable, it probably does make a lot of ladies uncomfortable. And I don't think that you should be pushing that type of stuff. And I think that when you push that type of stuff and then you call people hateful for not agreeing with something that is obviously not biologically true, when you start calling people hateful because you want them to say that the sky is red, even though we can look up and see that the sky is blue, you create people that become hateful in turn, on accident. And I think that even with the gay folks, like even people who are gay now are starting to turn their backs on the T's in the LGBTQ community because they're seeing that the T's being attached to the community or to the movement is a negative for them. So even there are more gay folks now that are starting to turn their back on the whole trans aspect of the movement because even some of the gay folks are feeling like they're overstepping with putting certain things in the schools and stuff like that. So when you're at Texas A&M, because that's where this happened, and you're paying all this money to take these courses, and some of these courses may be required for you to get your master's, and you have to pay this money, and then you have to sit there after paying thousands of dollars for the class, and then you have to pay another $500, $700 for the book. Yeah, I'd be frustrated too if you was teaching me something that I know that's obvious bullshit. So yeah, I think that Trump saying that you can't promote this in school anymore is actually helping more trans people than it's hurting, to be honest.
And this also very much goes against not only myself, but a lot of people's religious beliefs.
Right.
And so I am not going to participate in this because it's not legal, and I don't want to promote something that is against our president's laws.
That's
as well
fair.
As against my religious beliefs.
That's fair.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
You are under misconception that what I'm saying is
Can you explain to me how teaching us about gender identity and transgenderism and that there's more sexes than
gender isn't illegal.
Huh?
My gender isn't illegal.
And there it goes. There's the shaming. There's the social shame. There's the them trying to call you a bigot. There's the where's your empathy argument. No, your gender isn't illegal, and you identifying as whatever you want to identify as isn't illegal, but you pushing that in school, according to Trump and the new president and what he said is legal and not, it is certainly illegal for you to do that. Yeah. I'm actually surprised that this girl is the only one saying anything about this and calling out this nonsense. There should be more of these young men stepping up to call out this nonsense. And for her to say that this is a part of her religious beliefs also makes sense. They say that Gen Z is becoming more religious than ever. I know Bible sales were up 22% just last year alone. So I think that that's super interesting. And yes, she's right.
Gender? What do you mean? Your gender is not illegal. According to President Trump's executive order, if you want me to read the paragraph in the order itself.
It's not enough. If you are uncomfortable in this class, you do have the right to leave.
Yes.
What we are doing is not illegal. And if you would like to make a claim that it is, you need to talk to the department or the head of undergraduate.
Well, I've already been in contact with the president of A&M, and I actually haven't
Yes.
met him in person to show all of my documentation tomorrow.
Good.
But
We are also aware, and this is part of why there was an observer in class.
Yes.
I'm not convinced that your proposal will be effective.
It should be.
in stopping me from teaching things that are biologically true, because I do have the legal and ethical authority, all of the professional expertise in this classroom.
And that's the problem. They're trying to identify this nonsense as biologically true, and they know it isn't. And they're teaching this stuff as an objective truth to kids and to people who are paying money to go to college. And the people who pay money to go to college, I can't feel as bad for them as the kids, because at that age, you're supposed to know as a grown-ass adult that a man is a man and a woman is a woman. And if you allow somebody to convince you otherwise, then you need to question your own ability to critically think.
Yeah, no, I am.
Okay, shout out to the Daily Wire for this article related to the clip you just watched. So according to this report, the class was aimed at getting students to think critically about what children's literature can tell us about how we and others understand childhood, and not what the teacher was trying to promote here.
Of course
and now,
not.
thanks to this courageous student, a Texas A&M official told the Daily Wire that the college took steps to make sure that all course content aligns with the course curriculum
Great.
moving forward.
Good, and it's good that she stepped up and said something, and all it took was one college student that actually had the wherewithal to speak up for the truth, the objective truth. The problem with today's society is we've compromised the truth in order to cater to people's feelings. And the thing about the truth is, if you're actually pursuing the truth, you have to be willing to risk being offended yourself or sometimes offending other people. But it doesn't matter, because the truth is a truth. You can feel however you want about the truth, but you can't change the truth with your feelings. And we were trying to change the truth with our feelings. And I think what was even more interesting about this is that this was partially being pushed by our government. An institution that we're supposed to be able to trust, an institution that we give money to that's supposed to work on our behalf as the American people. We're telling our kids that they could be men and women could be men, or whatever it may be, switching and swapping whatever way. And this is why I think also that there's so much turmoil but in politics between the average people. I think that in today's time, people have to be more political because they see the corruption. And I think when people see corruption, they tend to lean more on the politics to point out the corruption. The problem is some people don't see that the corruption is on both sides, so people pick a side and then they blame the other side, and then there's a lot of infighting between the two instead of just pointing out the obvious corruption on both sides. I even think about it sometimes, like the fact that our parents and grandparents, maybe the government was just as corrupt at that time, but the fact that they weren't as aware of it because they didn't have the internet, so maybe they didn't have as much information readily available, they didn't really think about it as much. So maybe they engaged with politics, but there were also people who were bird watchers, and there were people who had other hobbies. Now it's to the point where some lady that probably would have been happy knitting 40 years ago is arguing with her goddaughter on Facebook about foreign policy. And that's partially because of things like this. We see that our government is corrupt in certain areas. They're literally pushing things to the people that aren't true, requiring us to pay them tax dollars to work in our best interest, and they're obviously not working in their best interest if they're pumping this stuff to our kids. And unfortunately, we let this stuff go so far that there were some kids that were affected by it.
First, I want to a little disclaimer that I wear my heart on my sleeve, so please don't mind my voice shaking while I speak. I want to thank the Federal Trade Commission for inviting me to speak today. I'm grateful for the chance to share my story because I believe that what happened to me and what's still happening to so many others is an urgent matter of consumer protection and fraud. My name is Claire and I'm a detransitioner. A week after I turned 14 years old,
wow, 14.
I was put on testosterone by Dr. May Lau at Cook Children's Hospital in Dallas,
Crazy.
Texas.
These are our so-called experts, and this is what we allow people to subject kids to. This is insane to me. If I were to give my kids alcohol at 14 years old, that would be considered in some way neglectful or child abuse, but I could get my kid a whole sex change. All because institutions like Big Pharma paid the right people and spreaded the right propaganda to the youth to make something like this possible. I just don't understand how this wouldn't be considered child abuse.
6 months later, Dr. Alan Doolin with the American Institute for Plastic Surgery in Plano performed a double mastectomy on me. I was too young. I was too young to get a tattoo. I was too young to drive.
Wow.
I hadn't even learned, thank you. Thank you, Jamie. I hadn't even learned algebra in high school yet. But I was old enough to choose to have healthy parts of my body electively amputated. I was sold a product, medical transition, by professionals and institutions who told me that it would fix my distress and save my life. I was told that if I didn't do this, I would probably end up dead. But here's what they didn't tell me. They didn't tell me that taking cross-sex hormones and undergoing major surgery at 14 years old could leave me with pelvic floor dysfunction and urinary incontinence.
Wow.
Problems I have to manage now as a young adult.
And it comes with so many problems they don't tell you about. Like, for example, if you're a man and you transition into being a woman, because your new vagina doesn't have any ability to clean itself like a woman's can, and because it doesn't have the same mechanisms, you have to keep it dilated, or your body will treat it like an open wound and heal up. So I think a couple times out of the week or something like that, I forget what it is, I don't know the exact details, but people who transition from being men to women have to dilate the hole so that it stays open, or it will heal up like a wound. And because it doesn't clean itself like a woman's can, you have to be very careful of getting certain diseases and infections and all those types of things. It's a very, very, very intimate process. It's a crazy thing that we subject kids to, and I couldn't imagine something like that and those responsibilities. I know for me, I didn't even wear my glasses. I couldn't even keep up with my glasses. Every time I go home, my shoes would be dirty, even though I got them brand new, because I just wasn't taking care of the stuff that I had. So I could only imagine at 14 the responsibility to taking care of a medical condition now. It would take a lot out of your life, and it would change your life in certain ways that I probably wouldn't be able to relate to. The responsibility in and of itself to protect yourself from the infections and diseases and having to dilate yourself. I mean, it just seems like something that's immoral to subject kids to, in my opinion.
Only 20 years old. They didn't tell me that these complications are common enough to be known risks, and yet they were hidden from me at an age where I didn't even understand what these terms meant, let alone the impact they would have on my daily life. And it doesn't stop there. When I tried to warn others by leaving honest reviews on my surgeon's websites, describing my regret, the complications, the lack of real informed consent,
They shut you
my
up.
reviews were deleted.
Of course.
Think about that. A surgeon permanently altered my healthy body when I was a middle school student, and then erased my negative feedback to protect his reputation. If that doesn't sound like fraud, I don't know what does.
Right.
In any other context, selling a medical product in this way, with half-truths and hidden side effects, would be considered fraud.
Right.
If a pharmaceutical
It's true.
company pushed a drug on children without disclosing the lifelong damage it can cause, they would be sued out of existence. If a cosmetic surgeon buried evidence of complications, they would be shut down. But when it comes to gender medicine, it's not just allowed, it's celebrated. And anyone who asks questions is called hateful. Every week, I hear from more young men and women like me, people who were convinced as kids or as teenagers that the only way to survive was to become a lifelong medical patient.
That's sad, man.
We now live with the irreversible consequences.
Right.
The scars, the side effects, the pain, and the grief. And we watch helplessly as the same professionals and clinics keep selling the same product to the next generation of vulnerable kids while silencing those of us who speak out. Let me be clear. It is not in my wheelhouse to say that no one should ever transition. I'm here to say that when you sell a product, especially one that removes healthy body parts and alters your life forever, the consumer deserves the whole truth. They deserve honest disclosure of all of the risks, possible outcomes like regret, and alternative treatment options. Mm-hmm. They deserve the right to share their negative experiences without being censored.
Yeah.
At 14, I trusted the adults who were supposed to protect me. Instead, they sold me a dream that turned out to be a nightmare. That's not healthcare, it's blatant consumer fraud. I want to thank the FTC and those in the audience again for giving people like me a seat at the table. Please hold these providers and pharmaceutical companies to the same standards as any other industry. We need real informed consent. We need oversight. And we need to make sure that no more kids are sold a product they can't return.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening.
Wow. I respect this person so much that I would be willing to call this person whatever pronouns they wanted to identify as. Because a person that regrets something like this and something that's so intimate like this, that's willing to share it with the world in order to prevent other people and other parents and other kids from having this same situation, and they're willing to face rejection from their own community. Think about that. Think about how much this community, the trans community, LGBTQ community, means to those people in that community because they feel rejected by the outside world. So the fact that this person was willing to say, I do regret this, and instead of trying to say, take pride in it, because there are a lot of people that take pride in things that they regret and then they try to promote it to other people. Like there are some ladies that get abortions, or there are some ladies that sleep around with a bunch of people and then they'll promote for younger women to do the same. Instead, this person said, no, I regret this. And this person doesn't even have to regret this. This person shouldn't feel like they should regret this. The parents should regret this. The doctor who did this surgery is responsible for this, because this person was 14 years old when they went through this process. So to be able to face the scrutiny that you're going to get from your community, stand up on your own 2 feet, and go out there and promote something to prevent other kids and other parents from going down this same pipeline, I think that requires a clap. I think that's the type of spirit that you want in humanity. He, she, they, them, I don't know what it is, but it got some balls. Let me know in the comments below if this video was a W or L, and give me the HBO special. That's up, brother. Special. Hit the like and the subscribe button for more content. Till next time.